Dijeron igualdad, pero esta vez me separaron. Dijeron mucho, pero no se olvidaron de callarse. Cuánto odio por mi piel sembraron. Dijeron historia y la tergiversaron. Dijeron guerra, muerte, odio y nos culparon. Siempre. Enfermedades, epidemias nos contagiaron. Exterminación de mi fauna complace a tus mercados. Dijeron riqueza y todos se lo robaron. Oro, platino, diamante, a la fuerza se lo llevaron. Y la actualidad es tan triste que todo aquello que dijeron es lo mismo que hoy se dice más. ¿Quién dice, quién explota, quién se beneficia? El asesino, el mismo que da las noticias. Hay una cuenta fácil que siempre me da las grandes riquezas, de dónde vienen y hasta dónde van.
Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao. Nati Dre es afroresistencia, cultura ancestral, afrodescendencia, solidaridad. Esa es la esencia, la diáspora africana eleva la conciencia, conciencia negra, universal, progresista y transcultural. Negros y mestizos revolucionando, pueblos caribeños y africanos en un solo bando. No más explotación, colonialismo interno, no más confusión, supremacía blanca en el Babilón. Soy rojo, negro y verde, afroliberación. Mientras más negro, más represión. Somos creadores, recupera tu visión. Mi misión es educar con amor, contra el silencio, vivo sin temor. Independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao, independiente como los Mao Mao, concluyente como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao,
como los Mao Mao. Somos resistentes como los Mao Mao.
Hello,
Rise
hello,
up.
hello.
Rise
Lord.
up. Mao Mao.
Am I in the right place?
Style.
Yeah.
Like it's a full house today.
We all showed up for work today. You know,
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome
Come on,
everyone
yeah.
to the Rise Up Morning Show. I am Natasha, along with my other co-hosts, who all showed up for work today.
minus one person. We're missing somebody, and we
Are
just
we?
want to. I think we are. We just want to put a quick, have you seen this man? Brother Kalanji, if you have seen this man, the last time we seen him, we can't remember.
I don't have nothing to do with this.
BPM Reloading over on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, wherever you are, Facebook. We ain't seen this man.
I guess I'm here now. I gotta ride with the crew, man. When you're in the car, it's too late to be like, let me out, though. Let me out, though. It's too late for that.
Guilty by association, huh?
That's it.
Yeah. Sometimes that's how it be, man. But how's it going, everyone?
It's going good. How about y'all?
It's good.
Good, man. How's the folks going? Doing out there though? The uprisers, man. I hope y'all raising hell.
Right.
Put it in the chat.
Hope y'all haven't jumped ship.
Get us a few horrible black fists in the chat.
Yeah, Isaac, shut up, bro. Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. Shoot, we love being around.
No, for sure, man, for sure. Hey, make sure though, if this is your first time with us, subscribe to the channel for sure. It's Rise Up Morning Show every Tuesday to Friday at 7 a.m. How's the 7 a.m. been working for everyone, man?
Yeah, let us know that part. 7 a.m.
Yeah.
8, please let us know that part.
I'm just gonna say it don't work for me. I'm up at the ass crack of dawn.
West Coast.
4 in the morning. Shoot.
Yeah, we might have to go back.
And I had no extra votes to help me in that decision. It was we're going to 4 a.m.
So that means you're gonna take your health into your own hands, man. Go to sleep mad early because you got to be up early.
Yep.
Go to sleep early, and get up early, do your push-ups.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Get right, man.
The 7 a.m. is okay, but
Well, ever since we've been doing 7 a.m., people been falling off, bro. I haven't been seeing people come. I haven't been seeing my co-hosts coming to work, man.
It's not the time for me. But the morning time is not the issue right now. It's a different kind of time issue. It's the lack of time. It's a lack of time.
Right now. Yeah.
That part.
Okay.
You got Natasha,
All right.
Natasha and Ikemba and Fernando all in school. I'm stuck in this Luigi Mangione and Leonard Pautier. A lot of stuff going on my network as well. So we're busy, man, but we're all doing like really good work. And I feel like we have to give ourselves credit, you know, and also look at the fact that, you know, for one, this show is created like out of ash, bro. Like I just have to highlight that, you know, and we put in a lot of work. Me, Natasha, Ikemba, Fernando, you know, Buna, Kalanji, all of them, you know, that was a part of this, you know, Dr. Ife, we've all put in work. And I think we need to give ourselves credit. And I think we need to give ourselves that pat on the back and a little bit of, you know, a little bit of leeway to be able to actually, you know, look at what we've created and how we can, you know, build this into something bigger. So I'm proud of everybody that's on the screen, everybody that's off the screen. I'm proud of everybody that's in that chat that tunes in every single day. You know, it's not, we're not forcing you to. You guys are willfully coming in, and that shows that the work is being done and that the work is positive. So I just want to highlight, don't, you know, I sure as shit ain't fucking, you know.
Hey, you got real deep, Ndugu. You got real deep, man. We getting sentimental out here.
Yeah. I mean, you got me reflecting, for sure. But I unite though. I agree with what you're saying, especially when you think about how we all came together and still just was trying to figure things out along the way. We even changed the time that we started the show. Faces change. So, you know, definitely I'm looking forward to just going into this new calendar year.
Word.
You know, fresh. And
I think the Rise Up's gonna have a good 2025.
It got to, because 2025.
I don't like to put business out there, but I got some stuff, some viewers or some guests that are already lined up in 2025.
Already locked and loaded.
Something's locked and loaded, but we ain't shooting it yet. So just know that when it does happen, you guys are gonna be surprised, because again, this is not just a morning show. We're not the fucking Breakfast Club. You know, we give analysis, we get geopolitical understanding, truth, and so that comes with making connections, making new connections that haven't been brought to this particular cadre, this network, and making sure, again, like how you said, 2025 is going to be a really fucking big year for the whole entire network as a whole, and I can feel it. There's shows that are coming. You know, if I'm not mistaken, I think some, you know, a big name is supposed to be coming on in like another 6 days or so. I don't want to give that name up, but you know, I think Fernando knows who I'm talking about.
Don't give it up. Don't give it up.
Okay. So y'all locked in Ibrahim? Y'all made that happen?
I don't know. See,
Ibrahim Traore? He's coming.
Comandante Ibrahim Traore.
Nah, I got some,
my bad. I gave up the name.
I got some names that you probably wouldn't if it's expected to be willing to want to speak because of just the bigness. I'll just say that big teams.
Hey, y'all hear that? So y'all better stay tapped in, tune in. He ain't even give us a date.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying?
Part,
so y'all better
I'm not
check
going
in
to
every day.
You know? Check in every single day, and you'll know.
That's right.
Hey, speaking about those political, geopolitical connections and things like that, are we making any connections right now, man? What we talking about this morning?
We talking about Nigeria.
We're definitely headed to the motherland.
Trying to suck up some toes of the French colonials.
Damn.
We're talking about Senegal. Senegal doing the opposite.
Doing the opposite, yes. Joining the Sahel states.
A lot of people weren't happy with Senegal because they didn't join the alliance right away, and all of that.
Can we get into that story? I can.
Should we take a little break before we get into our first story?
I would say
we got a break for Black Power.
Yeah, I think Let's
okay. Y'all see me. I don't know. It's Story Fridays. I'm ready to run through them. But whatever y'all want to do, let's go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna break for Black Power real quick. So here we go. It's probably something that you've heard before, but you're hearing it again, and you should hear it more than once. You should hear it as many times as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Rise up.
We are African, and we happen to be in America. We're not American. We are people who formerly were Africans who were kidnapped and brought to America. Our forefathers weren't the Pilgrims. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. The rock was landed on us. We were brought here against our will. We were not brought here to be made citizens. We were not brought here to enjoy the constitutional gifts that they speak so beautifully about today. Because we weren't brought here to be made citizens today, now that we've become awakened to some degree and we begin to ask for those things which they say are supposedly for Americans, they look upon us with hostility and unfriendliness. If you're interested in freedom, you need some judo, you need some karate, you need all the things that will help you fight for freedom. Nationalism is the wave of the present and the future. It is nationalism that's bringing freedom to oppressed people all over the world. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the Algerians. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the Nigerians and to the Ghanaians. It was nationalism that brought freedom to the people of Uganda and Tanganyika and Sudan and Somaliland. The Africans didn't get it by sitting in. They didn't get it by waiting in. They didn't get it by singing "We Shall Overcome." They got it through nationalism. And you and I will get it through nationalism. What is it? What is it that makes it difficult for the philosophy of nationalism to spread among the so-called Negroes? Number one, they think they have a stake in America. They think they have an investment in this country, which we do. We invested 310 years of slave labor, 310 years, every day of which your and my mother and father worked for nothing. Not 8 hours a day. There was no union in that day. They worked from sun up until sundown, from can't see in the morning until can't see at night. They never had a day off. And on Sunday, they were allowed to sit down and sing about when they died, they wouldn't be slaves no more. When they died, they wouldn't be slaves no more. They'd go up in the sky, and every day would be Sunday. That's a shame. And it is that 310 years of slave labor that went in, that was mine and your contribution into this particular economy and political system. They can give us the back pay. Let's join in. If this is what the Negro wants, let's join him. Let's show him how to struggle. Let's show him how to fight. Let's show him how to bring about a real revolution. Let's make him stop jiving. You don't need a debate. You don't need a filibuster. You need some action.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Oh, I thought we lost the comrades. Thought it was just me and you, Kevin.
Are we all here?
Sure. Nah. Powerful. Thanks for that Black Power break. That reminder is always needed. I think that's good political education too for folks who still swinging on the fence, man. Wanting to be American, don't know if they're American or if they should be African.
Yeah, and
So
that's
Malcolm giving us that reminder.
Yeah. Well, the truth is, we're still very, a very small number to really identify as Africans, as far as Africans that were born outside of the continent. We're still a very small number, so it's key. We got to keep it rolling, keep the Malcolm speeches coming. It's necessary.
yeah. Because America's a settler colonial state, man. We shouldn't even, and then and even the empires, the French empires and the British empires, like, oh, we should not be fighting to integrate into these systems or identify with our oppressors and exploiters. And so, when Malcolm's talking about nationalism, that's what he's really getting at, right? He's letting Africans know, like, yo, no, you shouldn't be fighting to integrate. Stop fighting for rights. Stop fighting for these reforms. Fight to build a nation of your own. That was the message that he was giving them. And so, one of the paths or the steps, I should say, towards that is how you identify yourself. And if you're identifying yourself with as an American, you're still attaching yourself to this system. So how that's a contradiction. How are you going to be fighting to dismantle something that you feel like you're a part of? And that's why we can see, like, most of our people, they think the answer is through voting. I don't see our people who are supposed to be in positions of power get as political as they are until election time. You don't see these folks talking politics outside of election time and getting out the vote. As far as just organizing, they may have conversations among themselves to talk about the political climate, but in regards to organizing the masses, the only time they want to be involved in that type of organizing is during election time to get people to vote. So,
Nah, that's real.
Yeah.
He talks about, I think the idea, he's talking about us, knowing that we're African people, but also the importance of that in thinking about what you know yourself as, like what you identify yourself as, is crucial in determining what your goals are. Because if you identify yourself as a Frenchman or identify yourself as an American, then your goals are different. Because your goals they're
going to be geared towards that nation,
towards what the Frenchman, what's best for France, towards what's best for America, and that does not equate what's best for African people.
Yeah, it goes into solidarity. Yeah, it goes into solidarity as well. That's how can we truly understand that what's going on in the Congo and in Sudan and all of that is directly happening to our brothers, to our people, to our family,
because it tells you who you should have solidarity with, right? That you should have first solidarity with your country as America or France, for example, or you should have first solidarity with your nation. If you think of yourself as an African person, then you would say, okay, well, then I should have solidarity first with African nations, right? Those that are part of that continent that I belong to, that is part of my lineage. And also my present and my future.
Yeah, and that's in specific, I've experienced living with individuals that, are from Africa that come here and they like to classify themselves as American. And I asked them, why would you denounce your African heritage? And they're like, well, I get more money here. I get, and it's like, wow. So like you're devaluing your own self based off of a dollar amount. And we have the same individuals here on the occupied territories of Turtle Island that are from the African diaspora that think that same exact way. It's I'm American. I'm not an African. I wasn't born in Africa. Those are false national consciousness. It's a false national conscious to assert yourself with a colonial system that oppresses you. that manipulates you, that coerces you into believing that it wants you. It doesn't want you. It needs you in order for it to circumvent its needs, circumvent your equity, your livelihood, to circumvent its needs, to propel imperialism abroad, which is exploiting our African brothers and sisters. So there's so much work in regards to like how what needs to be done just from a identity perspective, from a nationalist perspective, from an African perspective, that I'm pretty sure, you know, like Ikemba, you know, Natasha, Fernando, the work that you guys do, it's being administered, but we need more of it. It's not that, you know, being done isn't working. It's that we just need more of it. It's not gonna work under the lens of a short. Everybody needs to be on this level of understanding what Malcolm was talking about, which is that we are all African. Okay, we are all African. We're oppressed. We all were sent to different places of this globe and then oppressed and subjugated through the lenses of their legislation, their colonial genocidal laws and acts and beings. And it's contemporary now because we see it. Jordan Neely's life is essentially, you know, no longer, you know, and no one cares about it essentially from the lens of the legal system, you know. How many more times are we going to allow our African brothers and sisters to be bound by these same types of acts, you know? And you know, I'll just point this out too. The court documents for that or what was said by a lot of people that were covering it in regards that weren't from the African diaspora. They lied their ass off. He was held in a chokehold for more than 15 minutes. I spoke to 3 people that were on that subway. They told me that. I'm a Brazilian jiu-jitsu amateur competitor when I can, as I do have back issues. Holding someone for longer than them being unconscious, once they're unconscious, that chokehold becomes dangerous. You cut off the circulation to the brain, and to the heart as well. And so there's a lot about that situation that I think people are overlooking. And what I want to highlight is that this man is now a millionaire. His GoFundMe was ratified not once, but twice. His legal fees won't even exceed. I've been told $50,000 they won't exceed. So this man's a millionaire. He's a $3.3 million millionaire. All for killing someone.
He got that from murdering.
And that got that from murdering.
That's a reward. That's a reward. That's a reward.
That's what it turns out to be.
Yeah, when people are talking about, you know, when people put out rewards for telling someone like, oh yeah, you know, we found someone or whoever the case may be. But in this case, this is a reward for killing someone in the same ways that we think about, you know, looking for rewards for people who are, you know, who you find. This is a reward being put out here for making someone lose their lives, like their life, for literally assassinating somebody. And you get to determine, you know, if whatever the situation is, that you are going to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner all within, you know, one person. And while there were people there saying to stop, like people were not in agreement with this, like you were saying, Isaac, like the misinformation about what actually happened on the train is not what was actually
exactly. He didn't lunge at anybody. He was, the only thing he had in his pocket wasn't even, it was a muffin, from my knowledge. You know, these are things that they tried to justify. They tried to dig up his history. We all know that transients or homeless, houseless individuals, especially in New York, are the number one individuals that are targeted. This goes back to the 80s. You want a movie reference for this shit? Since people like movie references, you can go to Trading Places. Eddie Murphy literally played a homeless man in Central Park. You know, these are things that are still present. It happens all over. You know, homeless people can be arrested as many times as the police say they can because of the types of tactics that they administer here in Vegas. They were arresting people who were just trying to go back home to live under the city. That's a real thing out here. Like, I don't think people understand it. Like, there's an actual underground city in Las Vegas. It's not a joke. You can go to it. People will welcome you there. And it's not going to be like with buildings and stuff like that. Like, no, you're going to be walking down a water drain that'll be dry for 9 to 6 months, and then they'll move to to the next one. These are serious things, and homeless, houseless individuals are deeply affected by state sanctioned violence, which is the police. So bringing up that he was arrested 42 times, that he punched a woman, all you're doing is highlighting a system that has failed him. That's all you're doing in my lens, is highlighting that this is a system that failed him. It was never meant to for him to succeed. Obviously, so much to where the person who killed him is now a millionaire, and that's a reality under the lens of Western imperialism. And that just has to be highlighted. I know I took it to the Jordan Neely, but it's something that's very prevalent on my mind. No one should have to go through what he went through. That man was strangled to death, and he's sitting there watching. And I want to paint a picture for somebody. Imagine you being in a chokehold, and you're in a subway for 15 minutes. Someone's holding you in a chokehold. Mm-hmm. How many stops are? Can you answer this question? Can somebody please? How many stops are on a subway are between the 1 minute and 15 minutes? Because I know there's a lot of motherfucking stops. Okay, I know there's a lot. I know there's a lot of. So you're seeing. So Jordan Neely is seeing this train stop. People come on the train. People get off the train. Watching them, watching him dying. I'm painting a picture, and I hope I am for the viewers. Close your eyes and imagine that. That's what Jordan Neely went through. He had to watch hundreds, if not hundreds of people watch him be murdered when all he was asking for was help, the same help that the system would not give him.
That's society, man. It's echoing.
And then the help that isn't needed, financially, is given to the person who kills him.
Exactly. And they, you have people like Piers Morgan, calling him, he was a just deranged, lunatic. The same colonial tactics of painting pictures of Black people as the boogeymen, the savages, the uncivilized. That's just but the people
couched in different terms.
Yeah, but the person who took a shit on Nancy Pelosi's fucking desk is just a law-abiding citizen that needs to be pardoned. Like you see the cuckery in that. Like that's for me, that's where I draw a line. It's like, no, what you are doing is you are advancing colonial talking points and making people, even from our diaspora, believe that was a justified fucking assassination, because that's what it was. That man was assassinated in cold blood. So when Shapiro talks about America doesn't, kill in America, we don't kill people in cold blood. I say otherwise. I think history speaks for itself in that regard.
And the present also speaks for itself in that regard as well.
That part.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had a guest who came on and said the trainer, I don't know if it was his trainer in particular or the people who trained Daniel, the type of training that he received, he's trained to have that chokehold, to maintain that chokehold no longer than 2 minutes. So, outside of that,
even 2 minutes, I would have to say is super dangerous, and that's where mixed martial arts gets mixed. People get confused with mixed martial arts versus marine martial arts, which is a it's a co-optation of culture of a sport that is by another culture, and they used it to then create some type of martial arts, they think, which all it is like, okay, if there's a leg lock, marine martial arts, we'll give you the justification to break the fucking leg. That's how I've always seen marine martial arts, because that's how I had an instructor being a part of ROTC. I was a part of ROTC all the way up until I was a senior. Okay. So, all right. So marine martial arts to me is nothing more than a colonial. It's nothing more than
thinking about it. You was thinking about it, man. You thinking about going that route?
No, was I thinking about going to the Navy? Yeah, I was actually at one point thinking about going to the Navy. I took the test, did everything, and something just told me this might be the worst decision.
I'm glad we got you, man. I'm
glad we got you on our side.
I'd be scared to face Isaac in the trenches, man. On the other side, oh my Lord. I'm glad we got you on this side.
Isaac with the enemy would have been crazy.
Oh my goodness, bro. Yeah, I'm glad we ain't lose that one, man. I'm glad you on our side. But this crazy, this crazy ass piece of shit, me on CNN, like, talking about
that caught me off guard.
I had to, man. I had to. And he's talking about the reason why he held them for so long. He said part of my worry was if I let him go and an incoming train comes as he's running away, pushes somebody onto the tracks. That's what he said. It was part of the reason why I did what I did in the way that I did it. This dude, man.
And he said he'd do it a million times over. He'd go to court a million times and do the same thing. Why, though? We have to read between the lines. This dude understood exactly what the assignment was in regards to how this system was going to paint him out versus how they painted Jordan Neely out. Jordan Neely, as Piers Morgan, someone who's, again, funded by Rupert Murdoch, who owns Sky News. Rupert Murdoch is also someone who was on a list, on a piece of paper, low-key, who's a raptivist and also is an investigative journalist through Mint Press News, pointed this out. He did the investigation, did the work, and said, hey, this is Netanyahu's writing. Okay? Mm-hmm. Why is Rupert Murdoch's name on it? Oh, well, you look at the top of the paper, and it's a list of people that Netanyahu trusts to cover news in regards to what's going on abroad. Okay? Yeah. So you have this guy that's funding genocide that then is funded by a genocider that is talking about a man, calling him a deranged lunatic, and you have the only person that's on there to defend him that's from the diaspora is Mark Lamont Hill, who I'll say gave a good assessment of what was going on, but I feel like in that regard there should have been more pushback as to how people look at certain issues, especially Jordan Neely's case, but also this Luigi Mangione case against Brian Thompson, the CEO that was gunned down. In my opinion, chickens coming home to roost is what I call it. And trying to justify or trying to make people in society who have been affected by this very same person that died from an insurance perspective has killed thousands of people, left millions without insurance, and has made billions off of it, trying to justify his life and saying, well, he was still a father, he was still this, he was still that. And in no shape or form.
Oh, the slave masters, right?
Exactly. You want me to feel sympathy for the slave master? Oh, master, we sick? No, we're not. I'm not sick, and you ain't my fucking master. So that's why for me, both of these two cases currently right now, one of which that just got acquitted because of the jury being, from my opinion, I heard that they were deadlocked as to why it was acquitted. And this Luigi Mangione situation, I think are two very polar opposites, but come to the same conclusion: is that we live under imperialism, and there are different laws. You get rewarded for killing a black man. You get arrested or framed in this regard, as I'll just leave it at that. You get a person of interest, to a murder of someone who's killed thousands of people that now you want me to feel sympathy for. So that just goes to show you the ball of confusion, as the Temptations or Undisputed Truth would call it, that is America. That is, James Brown, living in America.
Yeah, you gonna take it there?
From James Brown, huh? That's a way to cap it off, man, for sure. Nah, definitely.
But
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
appreciate you bringing us, bringing this to light. I know many people are probably hearing about this story right now. Both of these stories you're talking about, but yeah, they turned this guy into a hero. My thing is that, well, I think precedents have already been set, but it's continuing that history of being able to get away with blatant murder. I think there was some, I guess you can say, some victories over the last few years in like the cases of Ahmaud Arbery, with George Floyd, if you want to call that a victory, because I think that guy's still going to be able to come home. You know, he's not spending the rest of his life behind bars. Or that white woman who went, what was that, in Texas, who went into the apartment and shot that African, was only given 10 years. So like there's like, in some cases you could say there's some victories that we have had in these type of lynchings, but it seems like it still doesn't. It still is overwhelmingly the lynchers are still overwhelmingly getting away with these murders. So, you know, for every one, it seems like there's 5 or 6 lynchings that are taking place that you know, that there's no justice being served. I mean, even with Massey, what's it? Sonia Massey.
Yeah, his
they're discussing.
The officer just got released on pretrial, which that was to come because of his lawyers.
They pushed it to January, so he didn't get released yet, but that's what they're discussing. But I think they pushed the date to discuss whether they're going to release him or not.
Well, they're trying to, from what I was told, is they're trying to justify her. I guess at the beginning of the video, she was trying to give him information to justify, like, hey, I have mental issues, you know, and I'm being treated for them. I don't want to end up like, and that's really why she didn't want them to come into her house, because she, in her mind, had already knew that this was going to be the outcome, is that they're not going to care about my life. But even then, so this dude in of it itself is a strange ass story. Every department he's worked for has covered up horrendous ass stories that he's been a part of. That coupled with both of the officers wearing Nazi insigniated you know, white supremacist Nordic tattoos. You know, that encompassed as a whole. This was a hate crime that is going to be justified via the means of these officers saying that they feared for their life. If you fear for your life, then that's not a job that you should have, my guy. Even then, so that's not a job that should be even existing. And so, you know, in that case, you know, I'm hoping, you know, but we all know the court systems, the way that they work. This dude will be another lyncher that gets turned into a millionaire, you know, for murdering someone in their own home.
You better be ready to rise up, man, if that happens.
Well, I see people right now are rising up in regards to Jordan Neely, and I've seen you know, certain demonstrations that are going to be coming about. I'm not going to speak on them or give them exact dates, because I'm not going to give the feds what the fuck they want. You know, but just know that people are outraged. People are outraged, and I think right now too, with this Luigi Mangione, this is the first time in a very long time, I would have to say, since probably the last time this was, we had this amount of class solidarity or class collaboration in regards to, you know, a billionaire being offed. It was like in 2011. And so I genuinely feel like this is a time period right now for the people, the masses of people, to look at, understand the syllabus before you get into the assignment, essentially, because 2025 is not going to be an easy year. It is going to be a transitioning period and a climax of Project 2025. Again, Project 2025 doesn't start in 2025. It's the culmination of 17 years of work that they have been bolstering via legislation and bipartisanship to make sure that these new ideas get infringed upon our rights, and essentially make our rights you know, non and void. But yeah, I know we got stories we need to get to, so I'm not trying to keep. I'm sorry, y'all.
Let's take a trip. Let's take it to the motherland. You know.
All right.
Yeah,
Who's going first?
Well, we could talk about. I could go with the Senegal. You know, speaking about, you know, we talked about victories, so we might as well. We got one here.
Yeah.
So Senegal follows Chad and seeks to end French military presence. Does someone want to pull it up on the screen, or?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now.
All right, cool.
What happened,
Senegal.
Tasha?
I just said I'm pulling it up right now, and then all of a sudden I saw Isaac pulling it up.
Yeah, good look.
One Africa, one nation. Let's go, man.
So listen, I know a lot of people have been, you know, wanting Senegal to make bigger moves. You know, a lot of people were, you know, complaining about Senegal not joining the alliance. But other people were saying that, you know, we have to be patient. Have to be patient. You know, time's not always on our side because, you know, the oppression is heavy and long lasting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, here we are. You know, Senegal announces plans to close French military bases, redefine its partnership with France, and enhance its sovereignty by diversifying international relations. Okay, so Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye announced that France would have to close its military bases in Senegal, emphasizing that the country would not allow military bases of any foreign state on its soil, as their presence contradicts Senegal's sovereignty. In an interview with Agence France Presse, Faye discussed an upcoming update to Senegal's military cooperation doctrine, stating that the revision clearly means there will be no military bases in Senegal for any country. Faye stressed that Diomaye Faye stressed the need to redefine Senegal's partnership with France, ensuring it is based on cooperation and mutual respect, free from any military presence. He reaffirmed Senegal's move to diversify its international partnership away from foreign military presence, citing strong ties with countries like China, its top trade partner, without the need for military bases. The Senegalese president welcomed France's acknowledgement of its responsibility for the Thiaroye massacre committed by French forces near Dakar in early 1944, calling it a significant step. He expressed appreciation for the letter of recognition sent by French President Emmanuel Macron, who apologized for his inability to attend the upcoming 80th anniversary commemoration of the massacre. Yeah, he was too busy for that.
Hey, I was thinking the
same thing. Faye did not rule out the possibility of Senegal demanding compensation for the victims' families. He further emphasized his commitment to enhancing Senegal's sovereignty and pursuing a new course in its international relations based on equitable cooperation and mutual respect.
Yeah, see, Macron wasn't gonna come because his ass was gonna ask him, like, "Hey, where my money at?
Where's the money?
Where my money at, man?
Where's the money?
I ain't playing around. If you ain't got my money or my bud."
It is worth noting that amid growing anti-French sentiments in its former colonies, France has already planned to scale back its military presence in West and Central Africa to around 600 troops from around 2,000 and 200 now. So yeah, they've already planned to do that. That wasn't the original plan, but
yeah.
but now apparently, yeah, they have planned to do that, to scale
exactly
to cut down. So Chad ends defense cooperation agreement with France, cites sovereignty. Chad has officially terminated its revised 2019 defense cooperation agreement with France, its former colonizer, as announced by the country's foreign ministry on Thursday. The Central African nation, which remained one of two members of the Sahel G5 after Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, exited the alliance, stated that the move is aimed at strengthening its sovereignty and reassessing its strategic partnership after 66 years of independence. In accordance with the terms of the agreement, Chad will adhere to the required procedures for termination, including necessary deadlines, and will work with French authorities to ensure a smooth transition, the statement read. While this decision will lead to the withdrawal of French troops from Chad, the foreign ministry emphasized that it does not in any way question the broader relations between the two countries. The French foreign ministry has yet to comment on the announcement.
Yeah, because they're shitting bricks. That's why.
Hey. Okay, so there's a few things here, but Chad has officially terminated its revised 2019 defense. It says the Central African nation, which remained one of the two members of the Sahel G5, had, after Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, has exited the alliance. But they stated that the move is aimed at strengthening its sovereignty and reassessing its strategic partnership after 66 years of independence. What y'all think about that part?
I think that it's kind of similar to I remember when I was reading some stuff on Kenya, and there was a I forget the woman's name. She was one of the leaders of the resistance, of the colonial resistance within Kenya at the time. And
the Mau Mau?
Yeah, she was part of the Mau Mau, and I'm trying to remember her name, but I couldn't. When she had said, like, okay, after even though the British had agreed to leave, and you know, the uprising had been had been settled in a sense, that she was saying, like, she's not cutting her hair until they truly have independence. And I think it was maybe like 2 or 3 years ago where she ended up cutting her hair. And even when she did cut her hair, there was talk within the media about whether or not she was like made to cut her hair, you know, through like, you know, coming to an agreement with the government, even though she still didn't feel like they had independent, like Kenya was still free. And so this is what it reminds me of, right? The idea that, yes, when you talk about 66 years of independence, did you really have independence within these 66 years? Because we know that when the French left, right, when the countries that were under French colonial rule broke away from France, that they deliberately put in place certain mechanisms to make sure that they can continue to, so like the way that, you know, they made these countries have to use the CFA, the Senegal still today, you know, uses the CFA. And a lot of those, you know, countries that used to be part of you know, French colonial empire.
Yeah,
and
they have to deal with France for their economy.
Yeah, and for France holding you know, their gold reserves, much of their these countries economic holdings. France has been propping up its country for ever since, quote unquote, independence, and has made it so that they can effectively remain in control by making sure that they have neo-colonial puppets as presidents that are continuing to keep with, you know, the ties with France, allowing France to have these military bases, allowing them to be able to set the terms and be able to benefit and profit off of the resources of the countries, while the people within the countries don't aren't able to, benefit from the resources that are within their own countries, as well as the political influence that they've done, like as well as the underhanded way that they support people who are against the sovereignty of the countries by, like we know, they've been accused of doing supporting terrorist groups within these countries, right? So we know that like they have, these countries, when they talk about free, 66 years of independence, but we know that it hasn't been true independence. And so this is just, a continuation of getting these people out of there, of a continuation of working toward real liberation, that liberation hadn't really been achieved, that it was in this kind of like limbo area where you don't have the same kind of colonialism as you did before, but you're still under colonialism, right? Neo-colonialism, as we talk about it, in the same way that when we think about us here within the United States, when we were talking about Jordan Neely, we know that when enslavement ended, chattel slavery ended, that we did not really become, the act of quote unquote emancipation doesn't equate to freedom. What it essentially equated to was the transferring of that power to enslave and to murder and to do what you want with Black bodies from individual plantation owners to the state. So when we were talking about, some of the court cases that we've been talking about these cops killing people, and they all, not only did those those rights that were given to slave masters in terms of being able to enslave and do whatever you want with Black people, or transferred over to the state, but it also was transferred over to just individuals, as we were talking about too, right? White individuals also getting license to kill Black people and get away with it in the same way, we're talking about lynchings, we're talking about Jim Crow, we're talking about segregation, all of those things that have happened. So in the same way in which we know that the neo-colonialism still continues for African countries, even after what they call so-called independence, those things are mirrored by the way we see other Black people living and having to deal with the state, in particular in countries, in settler colonial places like the United States. So I think like that part is what, this talking about the 66 years and even making it seem like 66 years is even that long in the grand scheme of time. Right. So like, they haven't even let you breathe. They haven't even let you breathe for a second.
No, they haven't. They really have.
And I think sorry, man. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think they're taking this time to do exactly what Natasha was saying, is like reassess. Okay, we haven't had independence. We've had 66 years of occupation and exploitation of resources. So now let's get a calculator out. Let's start tallying up the fees. Start tallying up what's owed to us, how we're gonna get it. And if we can't get it from you, then there's a thing called BRICS that's being built. And I think we'll join them, and I think we'll be able to live prosperously, under that system. And that's just my opinion in regards to how they're operating. But yeah, no, I think they're being very diligent with this time, and I think we got to respect that, being an entity that is being an African entity that has been exploited by European colonialism. That shit takes time to figure out exactly what's best for your people, because there's so many aesthetics that they've bolstered into their society that are European colonial constructs. And so I think they're taking the time to really understand what that might mean to them, and how they could wither away with all of those things, and at the same time put their people first, because I think that's where they're at right now, is our people got to be put first, and and we haven't. This colonial system hasn't let us. So
yeah, no, 100%. What do y'all think about? Yeah, go ahead, Natasha.
Oh no, I was gonna say
Fernando's like, damn, I can't get a fucking word out.
No, he was gonna ask the question, but I was gonna point out something else, but you asked your question, it might be what I was gonna point out anyway.
No, I was gonna take it to Senegal. I wanted to ask y'all what y'all think about President Diomaye Faye's move, and what y'all think about him in general, because like I said earlier, a lot of people have been, criticizing him for not joining the the Sahel state, and thinking that he was moving too slow, and questioning him. So what y'all think about him? Because he calls himself a Pan-Africanist.
That's what I was gonna say.
And now he's making a good move. This is definitely a good move. So
I think we got to look at this. Thomas Sankara didn't move the same way that Steve Biko or Patrice Lumumba moved. So we gotta factor in that these are two different African brothers, two different African fronts, and they have the same goal in mind, which is to end imperialism on the motherland. I think we have to be very diligent in that, and have that example of not these past former great leaders that helped end at that point where they thought was going to be the end of colonization of Africa, but it was that notion was then taken away. I just think that they're all moving in a different way. And if he calls himself a Pan-Africanist, obviously he's doing something that's good by labeling himself that and understanding the assignment in that regard. I just hope that this comes to a further connection, and not a divide that the imperialists can use, to try and fucking destabilize the region again. So
he was even precise with it. Like he said, so that there's no mistake. He says the left Pan-Africanist, leftist Pan-Africanist. Like, I'm not playing around. This ain't no black capitalism here.
I definitely think that it remains. I think with everything, it remains to be seen. Everything remains to be seen. Like, you have to give time so we could see, because there's nothing else. Nothing else. What's the word I'm looking for? There's nothing better than action, right? For you to be able to give a determination of anything.
For sure.
And so I think that's it in the case of Senegal. And when we think about it in the case of any time that we're thinking about those who are in power, working toward, liberation or say that they are. And obviously, this is one action that he's taken for us to be able to say, okay, well, this is definitely a good move, right? When we're thinking about Pan-Africanism, sovereignty, and all those things, like, yes, this is a good move. And so I say kudos to him for making that move, because we know that it's difficult, that even doing it, right, this is a difficult move to make, knowing the climate, the geopolitical climate, when we think about the history and also the current actions of places like France, the US, and Europe, and what they do when you do stand up and say, you know what? No, we can't continue as business as usual. You're not going to have any military bases over here in my country. Are there how many African military bases are there in the United States? None, right? So
zero.
In the same way, thinking about, and I think too, the idea of like when he talked about mutual cooperation, mutual respect, that is one of the things, like just the lack of respect for African people, for African heads of state and African leaders that exist, right? The way that you are made to, those who, when you're in a position of power and you're the head of an African country and you're friendly with France or England, that they still, like, the level of disrespect that they still show you is next level, right?
Yeah.
And it's very clear. And I think also too, so when we think about self-determination, I think that's very closely tied to self-respect. How much do you value yourself and your people as a nation to be able to stand in a position that shows the respect that you have for yourself and also the respect that you have for your people, right? And that equates to also like the love that you have for yourself and the love that you have for your people. And so I think it's just things like that about us understanding what these moves mean, and that, yes, it takes time, because they have to take into account all of these things. They have to take into account all of the geopolitical moves and counter moves that will come, things that have come before, so all of that stuff in order for them to even make that move. So I definitely say, like, kudos to him for making that move. and we just got to keep watching, and we just got to keep learning and getting to know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Before I let the Ndugu Ikemba give his perspective, I just want to say that, we've spoken about this before on the Rise Up, but I think it's a big move also because of what Senegal represents. Not everybody knows this, but Senegal, as far as the relationship with France, it's been a very tight one. So basically, to put it in the realest terms, Senegal has been a big time sellout for years, like the biggest, like the closest to Massa, so they've been real close to France. So the fact that Diomaye Faye came in now and he's starting to make real serious moves is huge. Because also France has always used that when dealing with other countries in Africa. They've always pointed to Senegal. No, look at our great relationship with Senegal and this and that, So yeah, this is good. This is good. Right step in the right direction,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think one of the things to take from this as well is the impact that the Alliance of Sahel states, the influence that they are having in that region, because they definitely are influencing Senegal and other West African nations to sort of reevaluate their relationship with these colonizers. And so, we have to understand that Senegal was influenced by what Mali and Niger and Burkina Faso had done. The other thing I think is important too is to as far as just like observing the economic ties that Senegal maintains with France and other colonizers, because that's one thing with the colonizers. They could care less about who's writing the laws, who's controlling the military at the end of the day. If they are able to maintain that economic relationship, if they're able to continue to exploit these former colonies of their resources and of their labor, then it's cool. They'll remove their military at the end of the day, right? So I think that's something that we have to continue to look at as well, because how many when we looked at the decolonization process that was taking place throughout Africa, and the removal of the colonizers' military from these nations, at least some of these nations, we can still see how even today there's still an exploitative relationship that is in place between these African nations and the former colonizers. So that's one thing I'm definitely going to be observing. But this is a step in the right direction. I like that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do in regards to relations with the AES in the future.
100%. All right.
What's the
up?
trend?
But what about Nigeria though? Since we on this conversation, Nigeria is moving into another direction.
Nigeria is picking up the French basketball that the Senegal drop was like,
you know what, we'll do it.
I can fix that,
crazy.
But Nigeria, we laughing, but Nigeria is another super. The worst part is that Nigeria is key. It's a very important country.
Yes, it's very. So this is a bad move, and this is why, like a country like France, they're like, okay, we're taking this loss here, but how can we regroup? How can we continue to, build our economy and maintain this presence in Africa? And Nigeria could be key to that, right? And I mean, they've already had a relationship, but I think over the last 2 weeks, they have created some sort of economic. They've gone into contract with each other. Like that, France is going to be supporting with the building of some infrastructure in Nigeria. I was reading some stuff in regards to just like the health the health field and some other things that France is going to be doing in Nigeria, but definitely supporting with the development of their infrastructure. So they're continuing this being able to maintain their presence in that region of the world. And so it's like you take a step forward and 2 steps backwards. It seems like, that's what's going on.
And I think it's about knowing, and paying attention to who's who and what, who's doing what, because when we think about the move that Senegal's making, and we're looking at, the way in which Nigeria is moving closer to France, and thinking about how when we think about how movements have been destabilized in the past, right? That we know that they're always looking for those countries that they can maintain within the same space so that they can do the work for them. And so I think it's just, it's another thing of, watching and seeing and getting even more detail, because it does seem ironic that, this is happening at the same time that other countries within Africa are moving and pushing the French out. So why would you then, as Nigeria, want to get closer to the French? And so I think knowing the history of how colonialism works, imperialism works, right? Divide and conquer, to infiltrate different countries, infiltrate governments, in order for them to have someone in the space on the land that is going to be able to do their dirty work, that's going to have a place for them to, bring their weapons in and bring their mercenaries in and do all those other things. So I think this move by Nigeria is very, is very skeptical. Is definitely something to watch, because you look like you're doing you look like you're setting up to be that which opposes the African world revolution.
And this actually goes back to what Chairman O'Malley Yeshitela talks about at an Oxford Union in regards to, we play that video on here a lot, or and I play it on my network a lot as well, in regards to the false African national consciousness, and how a lot of these colonial powers have came in, and they still come in. They rape, plunder, and pillage, African lands for their resources to build their nations up. And so I think right now we're seeing France is in a heavy decline of energy. They're getting their energy from Burkina Faso, from the Sahel Alliance. Sahel Alliance has ousted them from their country. We see that Chad is doing the same thing. We see that Senegal is doing the same thing. And so what they're doing is they're using Nigeria the same way that Nigerians, I think, have been sent to Haiti. If I'm not mistaken, someone can question me on that, or correct me on that.
Talk about Kenyans.
Kenyans. There we go. Sorry, but then I don't want to miss. I don't want to. Let me retract that. But I feel like in the same way that, yes, the Kenyans have been used to inflict harm on the African diaspora abroad in Haiti, we have Nigerians that want to work with French colonialists that are being packed up in the same region by different forces in order to circumvent what France needs, which is, again, they want energy. They want resources. They want to continue the exploitation of the motherland and the detrogation and subjugation of the African masses of people. That's how imperialism is, accelerated imperialism to be exact, because that's what we live under. Accelerated imperialism works in one way: mass escalation, which destabilizes the region. And then they go, and what it is too is it's a, where your leaders did this. So it's an excuse to say, well, your leaders did this, so it wasn't us that did it. It wasn't a colonial power that did it. It was a neo-colonial power. It was a neoliberal power that you created. That has done this to the African people, and so these ideas of wanting to work in reciprocity with colonialists is nothing more than a conformation, and is very dangerous for the African people. And I think we need to classify that as what it is, as it is dangerous. If we have hundreds of years of history to prove that French is a dangerous entity, a colonial entity. And I think we need to classify it as that, because we give them a pass when we don't.
No, that's right, for sure. Yeah. And then, another thing that's scary is how, what you said is real. Like they try to make it seem like, it's our own people selling each other out, and that's another tactic, you know what I'm saying? And we got a lot of people talking that way, regurgitating that, like, it has nothing to do with France. Look at the president is doing it. He's making his own choices.
Yeah, and this goes back to when we were talking about before, not just us who are in the United States, as Africans born in the U.S. or Africans living within the U.S. from different places who maybe were born in different places, but that identity conversation that we were having before with the Malcolm piece, right? Knowing who you are, because clearly, and we know that this has happened when we think about colonialism, especially one of the things that the French, the ways in which that they executed their colonial process and their form of colonial domination was to bring forth this false idea that everybody that is within France, within the Francosphere, is French. And that, like we were talking about before we got on, that there's no such thing as race. We're all French here. We're all one people, so we're not going to do it. While at the same time that they're giving that message to the people, they're killing them. They're oppressing them. They're making sure that the country is economically unstable. They're putting people in positions of power that they know will make sure to help in the oppression of their own people. And so just thinking about those things and knowing what France does and the way in which they profit and that they benefit off this false, like you were saying before, Isaac, this false national consciousness. Like it's clear.
I would have to say that Chairman O'Malley, because I'm not trying to get myself in trouble. Okay, I have to be in meetings in a couple months with that man. I don't want no smoke.
No, yeah, but this idea of a false national consciousness, and it's clear that when you are making moves to align yourself more closely with a colonial power that those other African countries are throwing off, that you have a false national consciousness, because you don't really, you're the head of, you're the president of Nigeria, but you don't really understand what, that you're a Nigerian, because is that in the best interest of Nigeria? Is that in the best interest of, African people across the continent, right? We know and it's clear if you just take a look at your current current situation within Africa, if you're the president of Nigeria, that clearly it's not in the best interest. And so, it puts into question, his own national consciousness and his own, way that he actually sees who he is and sees himself.
Yeah. He's a coward.
That individualism got us, that Eurocentric mindset.
And guess what? I doubt that the economic moves, that he's making with France is not going to benefit the Nigerian people.
No.
Not the masses, for sure.
No, it's going to benefit him. It's going to benefit him.
Yeah.
Him,
I mean, but,
maybe.
Their whole thing, they think that some of these decisions that they make, that the long-term, benefits are going to outweigh like the short-term, atrocities or harms that are committed or perpetrated against the masses. This is a policy. They were doing this all throughout the 80s with the Chicago boys, out of University of Chicago. They were going all throughout Africa, Latin America, pushing for them, to adjust their economies, right, and to purposely cause an inflation with their economies that was just going to harm, so many people, the masses of people, but they were telling if you do this, in the long run, it will improve your economy. And then, of course, the structural adjustment loans. They have these new this new policy. I can't remember the name of it off the bat. I'm gonna look it up, but it's similar to structural adjustment loans, and they're doing it all throughout Africa. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, not exactly, but I'm seeing also. I was thinking also about same thing with building infrastructure. Like that's not always positive. It's not always people thinking right away as soon as you tell them infrastructure, it's going to be positive for everybody. But that's not the case. It's not the reality of it. So
yeah, it's something the IMF is doing. I'll look it up.
Okay.
It's been a long time, but see if I can find it before we get off.
I think while Isaac is looking down there and Akimba's looking to find it, let's jump into a black.
I'm trying to respond to emails that. My bad, y'all.
Let's get to this break for Black Power, y'all.
All right, you
guys. Another one.
My unconditional solidarity with President Maduro and the government and people of Venezuela, who are currently under attack, savage attack, by the declining world hegemon of the United States. I think it's absolutely necessary to say that coming from that country, and especially looking at the fact that the United States travels the world preening, presenting itself as the guardian of democracy and the rights of the peoples around the world, where the reality is that Africans who are colonized in the United States represent at least half of the largest prison population in the world. There are more Africans in prison in the United States than there are people in Djibouti or in Equatorial Guinea. And so we find it very difficult also recognizing that by their own estimates, it would take 228 years for the income of Africans colonized in the United States to equal that of the colonial white population. So it is absolutely necessary for me to stand here today before you expressing total opposition to the United States government terroristic actions against the people of Venezuela with an attempt to starve the people into opposition to their government. Mr. President, brothers and sisters, comrades, it is also necessary for us to say that this question of a closer union with Africa, or between Africans, or within Africa, is not a purely academic question, despite the fact that this debate is occurring within the pinnacle of bourgeois academia. That there is a natural, historical inclination for Africa and African people to be united, which is one of the reasons I am here today. The truth of the matter is that this discussion about the unity of Africa, union of Africans, started much earlier than any incursion, as it might be characterized, of China or the Trump administration into Africa. The reality is that Africa came under assault some 600 years ago when Portugal first came and captured African people and initiated the process that would begin capitalism and would establish and consolidate the identity of Europeans in the world. It is a reality that capitalism rests upon a foundation of African slavery. Africans were first capital. And in order for this to occur and to last, it was absolutely necessary to keep African people divided so that we could not resist this horrible incursion on Africa that continues up to now. I think it's important to be able to say that. I think that we have to say that we've seen example after example by African people to unite. We've seen what used to be warring tribes in this geographical terrain that we occupy at this moment, able to achieve a sense of sameness that people refer to as nations, founded on a common economy that came from slavery and colonialism. This is the basis of the unity that we see. If there is a problem with the European Union today, it is because the foundation, the economic foundation of capital, of imperialism, is being stressed by the struggles of the oppressed peoples of the world to take back their resources from this parasite that bleeds Africa, that bleeds the world, that bleeds Afghanistan, that bleeds the people of Yemen who are dying by the thousands even as we have this discussion. This is the basis of a Brexit. It can't stand together anymore because the host is rejecting the parasite. And it's creating crisis throughout Europe and throughout the imperialist world. I think it's necessary, brothers and sisters, to say that there has been a natural trajectory by African people for closer union. We know that we're talking about having this discussion in part because in 1884-85, Europeans sat at a table in Berlin, Germany, not a single African there, and carved up Africa into the territories that we now sometimes call countries and illogically refer to as nations. Africans didn't do that. It was Europe that did that. It was Europe and imperialism that required Africa to be divided so that the resources of Africa, both human and material, could come and pave the streets in London and grow the buildings in Amsterdam and bring clean water to New York, while the streets in Sierra Leone are not paved. And the people in Sierra Leone do not have clean water. And there's no national electric grid there. It is necessary to keep Africa divided by European imperialism and by all the imperialism in order to continue to suck the resources from Africa so that cell phones could exist here, so that Steve Jobs and the others could achieve some great notoriety from the coltan that comes from Congo, where Leopold killed at least 12 to 15 million Africans in order to conquer and keep Africa in the condition it's in today. We talk about a united Africa and African Union because of what European imperialism has done to Africa to keep us divided. We know it's true. We saw 100 years or so ago, Marcus Garvey organized the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities Leagues that stretched across the globe. More than 11 million African people everywhere were connected to this. Africa for Africans, at home and abroad. That was the cry. Not Africans for Nigerians that didn't even exist until the British created it in 1915. And Flora Shaw, the mistress who would become the wife of Frederick Lugard, came up with the name nigger area. Not this false national consciousness that has been imposed on Africans around the world, so that when the Portuguese found shrimp on West Africa and then named it for the Portuguese word for shrimp, Cameroon, It is not true that they are shrimp despite the fact that the people call themselves Cameroonians today. It is a false national consciousness. The false national consciousness that created the American Negro, that created the Black Brit, the Afro-Swede. We are one Africa, one nation, and we must have closer union. But in order for that to happen, it has to be a revolutionary union. The Organization of African Union, created on May 25th, 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, was part of an effort to circumvent efforts by Kwame Nkrumah to build a single union of African states. And instead, we come up with an Organization of African Union that codified the colonial borders that were created by Europe in 1884 and 85. We have to be able to break out of this, but it's going to take revolution in order to do this. African revolution in order to do this. African revolution that will destroy imperialism and the world economy that's responsible for the growing immiseration of the masses of people around the world. Uhuru.
We're
right on.
African revolution.
Yo, that was powerful.
No, Fernando. I straight up thought that video was playing like in the back. I was like, "What's going on?"
Hey man,
did that real good. Hey, no, that was powerful, man. I know that there was some Africans in that audience, some bourgeois Africans that was feeling real uncomfortable.
He adjusted his seat when he started talking about Nigeria. He was, I know he's not talking about me. So yeah, no, that for one, the conversation that we had before that video played. After hearing that video, it all meshes together, and you start to understand the complexities that is the sheer oppression on African nations and how long it's gone, how far this goes back, and so. That's why I like watching that, and it's a heavy it's a heavy speech, and I think recently too, Oxford came out with some new videos and debates that are fire in regards to Palestine. I mean, so much so that one of the dudes that was on the Palestinian side kept getting interrupted by these Zionists, and he was like, so much so that he's like, take a Xanax. He's like, just sit down, just take a Xanax. Like you'll have your time to speak. Like, so yeah, it's just a very educational video. And I really do appreciate the work that obviously Chairman has done over the course of, his life, and and what he's done for the African masses. So it's an important video to watch. I'll just keep it there.
Yeah, it is very much so. He breaks it down with the Cameroon, the shrimp and the nigger area, man. It's going in, man. That's why it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, like you said, with the whole also that's why I'm not big into celebrating Independence Day, even when it comes to African nations and the Caribbean also. Because it also encourages this micro-nationalism, that doesn't necessarily help when it comes to our bigger goal of African unity and African liberation,
Yeah. And I think he highlights something that Malcolm highlighted in the beginning of this video is the false national consciousness that we all have been
right.
to. At one point, I'm pretty sure all of us called ourselves whatever. Well, I would have to say me and Ikemba, would call ourselves, at one point we did African Americans, or something like that. I don't classify myself as that because American is a construct of colonialism. So that's saying that I accept colonialism. I accept, that nature, that false national occupational consciousness. I'm not going to do that. And, I think that both Malcolm and then Chairman bringing it, obviously we have to understand that, Chairman is a product of Malcolm's speech of what Malcolm did. We wouldn't have a Chairman O'Malley if it wasn't for a Malcolm, a Dr. King, a Huey P. Newton, all of these individuals, we wouldn't have if they didn't all rely on each other and learn from each other. And that's a part of the Black radical tradition. We're upholding that now as we speak by speaking in radical tones against this imperialist mode, and being able to decipher what is what, how being able to know what the vocab that they use and how they manipulate it, which puts us in a position to kind of transition to the next article, which is in regards to
smooth
humanitarian aid. Hey, I'm 5 years in the game, brother. I know how.
Okay.
I know how to do this.
No doubt.
So it's funny that this article was in the run sheet because it was a part of another run. It was a part of a run sheet that I'll just keep it about. I don't do the run sheets over here. I like to bring some of my own stuff. I do it, when I can. Y'all already know. But for my network, I create the run sheets for the show, and it's just basically show notes as a summarization of the articles. And so I have that present. Let me get something to drink for
humanitarian intervention. Here we go.
Yeah, like when you guys hear humanitarian intervention under an imperialist mode, what do you guys think before I break this down? I just want to.
I think of colonization.
Yeah, you think of colonization, right? You think of a mass group of people being subjugated to genocidal tendencies, and so that's basically.
I think of a racket. I think of a racket. Somebody, I look at the people who are causing the problems coming in, saying, "Hey, pay us to solve the problem."
Mm-hmm.
But you're the source of it, man. The mafia does it, man. So,
yeah,
that's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And this article critiques the 1999 British-led quote on humanitarian intervention, end quote. The Sierra Leone often touted as a success in Western narratives as a glaring example of how imperial powers cloak military domination in the guise of altruism. From a decolonial and anti-imperialist perspective, this intervention illustrates the violent realities of, quote, humanitarian aid, end quote, under imperialism, which often manifests as what the article calls genocidal death squads. Central to this critique is the fact that the intervention prioritizes Western geopolitical and economic interests over the well-being of Sierra Leone's people. We just heard, Chairman O'Malley say that that the streets in Sierra Leone weren't paved, but yet the streets in New York were, and that was off the backs of the Sierra Leone people. That was off the exploitation of Africans. The deployment of British troops was marketed as a rescue mission, yet the intervention largely secured diamond mining zones and entrenched neoliberal economic policies favorable to Western corporations. So again, the extractions of our resources, they then bring in these genocidal death squads that are also known as security forces that come in and they take intervention of largely secured, as stated, diamond mining zones. So that means diamonds are a precious commodity, especially in imperialism. We know that is, we know every rapper got diamonds. We know every, artist, all the music, whether it's the music industry, whether it's acting, opera, whatever it may be. I can even throw for that matter, journalism. We got a lot of individuals that are journalists, and, I see them rock, cubic zirconium and, diamond and encrusted, gems and shit.
Celebrity journalists.
Exactly. And I'm not going to name any names because I think people know who I'm talking about. The article reveals that British forces work closely with private military contractors, end quote, whose unchecked operations often result in indiscriminate violence against civilians. The author notes that humanitarian interventions serve as a, quote, modern form of colonial domination, end quote, ensuring that resource extraction and suppressing dissent under the pretext of restoring order. Again, they come in, after destabilizing the regions with their CIA ops and overt and covert operations. There's been over 294 overt and covert operations under the existence since the United States has existed. That means every year that this occupation has been alive, they have caused overt and covert operations that have destabilized regions in not just West Asia, South America, and all regards the fucking world. Let's just keep it a buck, you know? The author notes that that Sierra Leone's intervention exemplifies this pattern. Quote, the supposed peace building efforts left the root causes of the conflict, economic exploitation and political marginalization, unaddressed, perpetuating cycles of poverty and instability. So again, mass escalation, what comes after that? What comes after this destabilization of countries and their economic systems, their infrastructure? It comes famine. It comes them having to rely in some instance on an imperial power that comes in and says, hey, look at all the damage that you caused, but really we caused it through the manipulation. And so we're here to teach you how to act civilized. That's a settler colonial talking point and tactic that they have used time and time again to subjugate the masses of indigenous people across the globe to this type of livelihood, of living. Also states right here too, the article describes how the forces employed scorched earth tactics, targeting not just rebels, but entire villages suspected of harboring oppositions. Such tactics align less with humanitarian goals and more with the imperialist agenda of pacification and control, end quote, it asserts. From an anti-imperialist perspective, the intervention represents not a solution, but a deepening of Sierra Leone's subjugation within the global capitalist order. British government action reinforced systemic inequalities while portraying itself as a benevolent savior. The author concludes that, quote, humanitarianism under the imperial tool is to sustain exploitation dressed in the language of human rights, end quote. So again, humanitarian aid under the guises or under imperialism is nothing more than what would be considered concentration camps, open air prisons, which we see in Gaza, what we're seeing now in Damascus, where the Minister of Defense for Israel, Israel Katz, has stated in a video that he will be creating zones that will be de-weaponized, meaning open air prisons similar to the West Bank, similar to what's going on in Gaza and Palestine. And so we have to understand that the vocabulary is very important to understand in this regard, because they use humanitarian aid in order to, as a pretext and as a cloak to disguise their manipulation and sheer genocidal tendencies in areas and regions for which that they know that benefits their escalation and the perpetual existence of imperialism. And so that's I'm kind of glad that this article, you know, made I was able to talk about it here, because it ties in to what we talk about in regards to not just African nations, but also on a global scale, what it's like for indigenous people to have to live under the guises of imperialism and be subjugated by these types of tendencies, and then the world to be manipulated into believing that there is some type of humanitarian effort that's being bolstered by an imperial entity, when that's not how imperialism works. Imperialism doesn't help, it exploits. Those are two different facets. If you're looking for a system that helps, that would be scientific socialism, Ujima socialism, Pan-Africanism, decolonial Marxism, all of those things. And so, yeah, I conclude. I think we got another. Oh no, that's Ikemba. You threw me off for a second.
You thought we had El Comandante up in here?
I thought the word had got out already that Comandante was gonna be here again. If you guys don't know, we don't know where this man is at. I don't know. If y'all could help us out, that would be wonderful. And this is all for jokes, y'all. I'm being completely honest. Do not please take us seriously.
Right.
We know that Kalanji is working his fucking ass off right now to make sure that he gets gets the shit done. I'm not gonna put the man's business out there. Just know that work is being done.
Put in work.
And we're here. We're all in every facet doing. We're running all on high fumes. We're you know, the gears are shifting, and all we could do is say, you know, hey, Kalanji is working. He helps us, you know, behind the scenes. You know, he's working hard, and he'll be back as soon as possible. But until then, we could hold up the fort. You know, we've obviously been given the keys. Just to let you know, Kalanji, they've been changed, so you're gonna have to ask us for a key. It's been we couldn't wait. You know, we couldn't wait that long. No, but I'm just glad that we're where we're at.
And happy belated born day to the comrade. Too.
Exactly,
you know,
exactly.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody knew.
Comrade.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody knew, but it was Kalanji's birthday. You know, and yeah, it's kind of it's hard to live in a world where you try and be positive and celebrate someone's life, but you also have that in the back of your mind, like, damn, it's people's birthdays, but it's also someone just died today, like, you know. And I try not to. I try like to live in a reality based, you know, understanding that we gotta you know, represent, and we gotta also uphold and respect those that, you know, are still here and they're doing the work. So happy birthday to Kalanji. I know it's a late happy birthday in regards to saying it on the show.
The show,
but
shout out.
You know, we did give our happy birthdays to him when it was his exact birthday. And so if you know, a big way of helping, you know, Kalanji, you know, out for his birthday is you know, subscribing to our Patreon. It's, you know, down below at patreon.com/Black Power Media Reloaded. And it helps keep everything afloat here. It helps pay for the StreamYard. It helps pay for us to be able to do certain things in regards to getting, you know, more exposure to certain situations, being in courtrooms for certain court cases. Again, in some aspect, we're all journalists. We're all speakers of the truth, and, you know, we need the people's help. And so if you could help out, down below are ways to do so. I don't got really too much else to say in regards to
hey, just so y'all know, though, I was having technical difficulties, so the screen wasn't coming up.
Oh, wow.
I could see you guys. I was hearing everything that you were saying loud and clear, but I couldn't see the screen. So I had to come in. I had to open up a new tab and come in. That was the reason for me coming in twice. But no, this is definitely like an important, I think, you know, story or analysis of humanitarian intervention. Just going back to your initial question of what do we think about? I think when you were reading the story, it validated my thoughts in regards to you know, this quote unquote humanitarian intervention. You have the British or the United States coming in to Sierra Leone. In this case, you know, Tony Blair is looking like the hero, because he's coming in and he's supposed to have been sort of like the answer to this civil war that was taking place. But the reality is there's a legacy of colonialism, right, of exploitation that was taking place, and so this fighting over resources to sell on a market that's dominated by Europeans is the first contradiction right there. And so now they're fighting internally over control over these diamond mines. And then what you have is the masses, the people who are fighting against this oppression and exploitation, is sort of being criminalized or painted in a negative light. And that's being done through the media. Because in the story, I don't know if you got to that part, but they were saying, like, even in this media, they were making it as if like people were getting their hands chopped off left and right. Like there was thousands of people walking around with no hand as a result of this conflict. When the reality is that, you know, there might not even been 20 people who had their hand chopped off. And the reason why,
or any people for that matter, because you can't believe what mainstream media tells you, whether it's European or it's Western, you know?
Yeah. But the people, and and the reason for some of those people who were getting their hands chopped off, just according to some of the stories on the ground, is that they were chopping the hands off of soldiers who were fighting against their brethren. Like, you don't raise your hand against your brother or your sister, and so they would chop, off the soldier hand. So that's something that was going on. But what happens is that now the West comes in there, and they help propel a regime into power that is favorable to the West and their economic policies. So that continuing of oppression and exploitation of the masses of Sierra Leoneans takes place as a result of who was put in power. It's the same thing we've seen in Congo, same thing we've seen in Ghana, and throughout Africa and throughout African communities. I think even in the diaspora, where you have the people or the leaders who are more favorable to European policy, when we have these sellouts who are put in power to help expedite Western exploitation of Africans. So, that's so the humanitarian intervention, it took place. But did it change anything? No, it didn't change. It didn't change anything. And if anything, it put the West in a better position to continue its exploitation of Sierra Leone and Sierra Leonean people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got anything to add, Fernando?
No, y'all broke it down, man.
You say y'all didn't leave me. Y'all didn't leave me a piece of no cake, y'all.
Y'all broke it down, man. That's it. We agree, man.
Yeah, it's real right. Like, you see these, you see African nations, African communities still in power. Humanitarian intervention did what? Tony Blair is looked at as a hero for what?
Yeah.
What did he solve? And the people that they're supporting, the regime that they're supporting, what has that regime done but continue to make life hell for the masses of Sierra Leonean people, where they're vulnerable to foreign exploitation, where the Chinese can come in and be able to exploit Sierra Leone resources. Whether we're talking about diamonds, fishing, whatever industry you want to talk about, the Sierra Leonean people are not dominating. It's being dominated by an outside entity, where Sierra Leoneans have to leave the country. You're talking about a population too of what, 4 million, 5 million maybe now is their population. But it's ridiculous, man.
And the system is so vicious that it has a lot of us, thinking that it's okay. It's okay for us to just think that we should just worry about individually, moving up, individually prospering.
Yeah, and their population is close to 9 million now, 8.7. But around this time it was lower than, as far as the conflict.
Okay,
might have been half this size, but yeah, man.
True indeed.
I'm doing doing some stuff for us right now. So I kind of blacked out.
We couldn't even wait. We couldn't even wait for us to finish, man. Yeah. Nah. Dope show though, man. I think we covered some great stories, man. It's been a minute since we all been here together like this, so that's good, man. Semester is over for me for the most part.
So that means you got some time to be on Breaking the Backboard, huh? How about you, Fernando?
Look at the
I got some time.
Look at the recruiter.
Fernando, I was just on Fernando's, show, man. That was good. Yeah. I had fun, man.
Dropped yesterday. Everybody, please go check that out, man. Vital Hoops, episode 72 with Dr. Ikemba Jory, Black Power 215. Check it out.
Dang, 72. What other number matches 72? I think that's Jordan
72.
72 and 10.
I feel like the Lakers won in 72, right?
Did they win in 72?
I feel like they did. I feel like Wilt Chamberlain might have been on that team.
1972.
They might have. But the Knicks won in 72.
That's when I used to be in my basketball bag.
Yeah, that was the year.
Knicks won in 73, so.
Was I right?
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I can't believe I still can remember some of these stuff. I'm telling you, I was a big like numbers. When it came to numbers, I was all over it, bro. Like I'm pretty sure there's a lot of that stuff I couldn't remember, but things like Oscar Robertson, like when he got his triple double, like things like that, I used to know all of that, all of those stats, man.
Yeah, you're definitely right. That was the 1972 Lakers. That actually was the year that the year before Elgin Baylor had retired, and then they won the year after without him. And that was the year. And again, we have to also understand too that if Jerry West and those Lakers would have beat the Celtics in the 70s, if they would have had a chance, if they wouldn't have been knocked out consistently out of the finals, we'd probably have the most championships as an NBA team. So suck it, Knicks.
Man.
Hey man, don't be mad because we got a better record than y'all.
No. Hey, no. Y'all, this has been a fun episode, y'all, on the Rise Up Show.
We're gonna say that for the other show.
Breaking the backboard. We'll be on there soon.
On Mondays.
Bring me through, because I remember us having a conversation way back. I want to revisit that.
All right, I think I told Ryan. I said I already know Kimba's gonna give me shit for how much I was like. Again, you guys want that information? Y'all can go over to the Indigenous Nightmare Network and go to the Breaking Backward. That's every Monday. We have that show. Ikemba Fernando's been on there multiple times already now. And we talk basketball from a deep colonial perspective, bring up some, it's not all NBA based. And if we're being honest, we transition. So we're gonna be talking more about Cuban basketball. We're gonna be talking more about Palestinian basketball, as I have only one connection to the Palestinian Basketball Federation through a trainer, and getting kind of insight on what's going on there, obviously following them. So it's a show dedicated to decolonial resistance basketball and understanding that sports plays a heavy role in our resistance. It plays a heavy role in our liberation. If people don't think so, I highly advise you to go back and look at the likes of Bill Russell, look at the likes of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he was, on the right side of history. It really has its footing in resistance, and so I want to kind of bring back that through the lens of media, because we have people like Stephen A. Smith that target our communities. I went to a school for which they were playing certain videos of him and saying, hey, you need to be a little bit more like this guy. So I need to be a little bit more cowardly. I don't think so. I'm not gonna talk down on my African diaspora, my indigenous diaspora. Not going to do that. So that's what Breaking the Backboard is that we are a different type of broadcast basketball media. We give you a show that's tailored around anti-imperialist narratives and basketball tendencies. So
that's right.
But yeah, anything else you guys want to queue up? Anything? What's going on with We Charge Colonialism, man?
Yeah, we be on this Saturday. We still reading Dr. Gerald Horne's book. Yeah, The Apocalypse of Settler Colonialism. They're really having some
that's a good
dialogue.
One. That's a good one.
Yeah. I noticed some other folks doing the same book. So which is good, man. More discussions we have on it, the better. I was gonna say the better, but not necessarily. It depends on what you do, but it's a good thing. But yeah, we're gonna be. I think we're in chapter 2 this Saturday. We Charge Colonialism, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Me, Natasha, Frank usually does that show, if we all can make it, but definitely check us out, man.
For sure.
Fernando, what's going on with can you give us any news on Gerald Horn in the show?
And the comrade Buna. No, I don't have anything concrete yet. I'll get back to y'all on that one.
All right.
But there's definitely something in the works. Yeah, a couple more things going on, but maybe we'll speak about it next week. There was a conference in Cuba that just happened. There was also the Pan-African Universities that our organization held here in Paris that just happened. A couple of things we can get into. And like we said, the new Vado Hoops is out with the Kemba. And our next show will be on the first day of Kwanzaa, the 26th. So tap in. And 3 p.m. Thursday the 26th, Vado Hoops.
Yeah, and I can actually announce finally, as soon as Laith Maroof gets back from a sabbatical, we will be starting a show that will be airing between me and him on both Black Power Media Reloaded and on the Indigenous Nightmare Network called Decolonizing Media. And it is tailored around giving geopolitical anti-imperialist news in regards to what's going on in West Asia, particularly West Asia. And so it's going to be a monthly show. Haven't specified on a date yet, but I have been in contact with Laith in regards to this. And, we both came to the conclusion that it's best, to right now take some time off and, come back and reconvene. And I completely understand that. The work that Laith does on freepalestinetv.video is very vital. Shout out Vital Hoops to the resistance, to media resistance within media, decolonial media, broadcast media. And so very happy that I'm able to at least announce that is a new show. It'll be me, Laith, and then hopefully I can get sometimes, Ryan on, but mainly it's an indigenous based show where we sit down and we kind of talk from a decolonial perspective of what's going on in the world and also from an indigenous perspective. So just happy to announce that. I don't have a specific date, but like I said, big things are coming in 2025, so just be prepared. But I think we can cut it there, you guys, if you guys want.
That was
a dope show.
That was a good one. We appreciate all of y'all. Make sure, like Ikemba said, please like, share, subscribe. And I'm going to ask everybody who's checking this out to send it to somebody. Send this video, share it with somebody. DM the video to someone. Let them know what's going on over here at Black Power Media Reloaded. And we'll see y'all Tuesday morning on the Rise Up.
Rise up, everybody.
Sometimes the riot is a quiet one, where the battle is to love yourself and function in society, where voices of reason are muted by anxiety, like gaining notoriety is selling your soul. So we tend to go no deeper than the shallow water level, trying to keep us overhead in the face of all the slurs and the stares, until they frozen, paralyzed by fear of failure and success. So we lock, stock, barrel, running while it's crumbling. All these towers and they're babbling, but the baby's in the bath and a stash under the bed on my head, spinning from the circles and the puppets and the strings that they pull. Then we move. Reactionary warfare never produces winners on the field. Feeble and foolish. What tools and what weapons are we using? We need some new ones. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Well, we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Well, my inner me really a mirror for the galaxy. New time, brand new paradigms, new contracts to sign. They thought that this would all be televised, though it's happening right before our very eyes. It's on the inside, with their guns cocked. When that rock drops, standing on the rooftop, Praying that the mountaintop can live inside the valley. People tell me the reward is somewhere off in heaven. Like heaven's only in the sky. Like chariots are swinging. Like God is something separate from yourself, from your wealth, from your lover, from your neighbor. Oh, your savior is coming in your own name. Coming with the face the same. Real revolution. It's real solutions. Where we've taken on the ways of the ones who conquer with their guns and religion and division. Got my inner me looking like my enemy. Real revolution. Where my enemy is really a mirror for the galaxy.